Hi there, and good morning from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Today we're going to be flying on Saudia up to Cairo to continue my Roots and Hub series, and with that, we'll leave Asia behind, as far as this series goes at least. In terms of plans, growth, and general going-ons, Saudi Arabia has a uniquely high number of eyes on it at the moment, since they're not only trying to transform the country into a true tourism destination, but they're also rewriting the script on what it means to expand an airline, updating a whole lot of infrastructure at the same time. Saudia actually traces its roots back to a gift of sorts from FDR in 1945, when he gave a DC-3 to King Abdulaziz. From there, the airline has formed, and in those formative decades, was actually managed directly by TWA. Over the years, the name of the airline has changed from Saudi Arabian Airlines to Saudia, and back again, and back again. And exactly the same thing is true for their livery. The new one they just reverted back to, originally being introduced in the 1970s. One thing that is definitely not from the 70s though is this massive and modern terminal which opened in 2018. Before we get into all that though, I'm Kevin, the Flip-Flop Traveler. If there's one thing that I want you to know about this self-funded video, it's that my opinions are honest, my own, and unsponsored in any way. If you'd like to know more about the channel and how I do things, scan the QR code or click the link in the description to learn more. Have a look around the channel, there are hundreds of airline and hotel reviews to enjoy. This transformative journey starts now. The airport where we are now is named after the same king that accepted that first DC-3, and is currently the busiest airport in the country and is only going to get a heck of a lot busier. I do need to point out though, stepping inside this terminal for the first time, and really I'm only talking about the check-in hall because airside, it's not nearly as impressive, but this check-in hall is breathtaking in person. I think the colors get a bit monotonous on camera, but the scale and lighting, and for lack of a better phrase, literally everything that doesn't show up well on camera, it's all stunning. Currently, all normal operations at the airport are consolidated here into Terminal 1. But they also have the Hajj terminal over here, which is essentially a collection of massive glorified tent-like structures designed by Skidmore, Owings & Merrill, used to handle the massive influx of pilgrims each year. The Hajj terminal alone can handle up to 80,000 passengers at any given time. In addition to currently having the world's tallest air traffic control tower at nearly 500 feet, last year the Airport Authority announced plans to build a fourth runway and Terminal 2 as part of the broader Saudi Vision 2030. Terminal 2, which I think we need to assume would be over here, is going to be a biggie, meant to double the airport's capacity, bringing it to 120 million passengers per year. For reference, last year the airport saw 43 million passengers. The terminal is meant to be completed by 2031. Check-in, as has been a big old theme on the past few legs of this trip, was deserted and very friendly and efficient. To get to the international departures part of the terminal, we need to head down a level and take a quick train ride. Now, it's more than fair to ask why on earth an airport's capacity needs to double. Though frankly, for this region, doubling capacity seems to be on the conservative side of things at the moment. A lot of the need has to do with Riyadh actually. As I talked about in my last video on FlyNos, Riyadh Air will begin operations next year. By 2030, when the massive new airport in Riyadh begins to open, Saudia will begin completely pulling out of that market. Saudia currently has around 115 daily flights from Riyadh, and while I'm sure they'll still have some domestic flights there after 2030, that is a lot of capacity that they'll be shifting to Jeddah. And that doesn't even touch on the growth plans that the airline has beyond that. Currently, they have 157 aircraft in their fleet, with another 131 on order. Plus they have their low-cost airline Flya deal. With their fleet, they're currently flying to 134 destinations in 47 countries, including the 29 domestic cities that they serve. So when you factor in the consolidation from pulling out of Riyadh, and the growth from a rapidly expanding fleet, it's not too crazy to think that their presence here in Jeddah could easily be doubled in 6 years. At the time that I was here, there was a lot of renovations going on, mostly related to shopping and dining, two areas where I always thought the airport had been lacking. Most of those have since been reopened though, which I'll show you in a few months in my next Saudia report. Flying economy today, I headed to the Plaza Premium Lounge. It's small and feels a bit of an afterthought, but it had a decent selection of food and drinks on offer, and was comfortable enough to get some work done for an hour or so. The route that we're flying today is the airport's second busiest route, and is the busiest international route from any Saudi city, with upwards of 30 flights per day up the Red Sea to Cairo. The airport does have a really far-reaching sprawl, serving 175 destinations in 75 countries. Many of the Middle Eastern transit hubs have really busy transit banks in the late night and overnight hours, which makes these post-lunchtime flights always a pleasure to fly on with uncrowded airports. If you're enjoying the video, please go ahead and click that like button. All of my videos are self-funded, so clicking that like button and subscribing really does support the channel. If you're looking for lots more information about my travel in general, weekly posts, advanced itineraries, travel advice, and the like, I'd invite you to check out my Patreon or YouTube channel memberships. Boarding began on time for our 8-year-old A330-300, which is frequently used on regional routes as well as longer missions. While I was just SkyTeam Elite at the time, one thing that I love about SkyTeam's lower status is that it often includes free seat selection for any seat in economy on some airlines, a benefit which really adds up over time. You can see here in this dummy booking on the same flight, without status, my seat for today alone would have been $41.60. When I put in my SkyTeam number, it's free. Let's take a look at the flight stats. I am generally a fan of free, so I chose a bulkhead seat with unlimited legroom. The seats themselves are good quality long-haul seats with all of the features that you would expect, including an adjustable headrest, in-flight entertainment monitor, though at the bulkhead the monitor needs to be stowed for takeoff and landing, and thankfully overhead air vents. As we push back and begin the safety video, I really need to talk a bit about the service on this flight, because it was literally as good as it gets. To me, the difference between great service and quote-unquote as good as it gets service are two small things. First, if and when the purser is as present and as friendly as the rest of the crew. And second, that the crew as a whole is simply clearly enjoying the job. Maybe I'm wrong, but I can't imagine that 2-hour flights to Cairo are the most desirable flights to get in your roster at an airline like Saudia. So sometimes on these shorter flights, service can be hit or miss. But this crew was genuinely as friendly and as conversational with guests as you'd find on any long-haul flight on whatever you think the best airline is. So bravo to them for that. And frankly, I can say the same for all but one of the Saudia flights I've taken in the past few years. Something is being done right. Okay, let's get in the air. The spool up, takeoff, and airport stats are coming up next. I couldn't decide which was nicer to admire, all of the legroom or the beautiful views of the Red Sea. Okay, maybe the Red Sea. Entertainment on board was good. How shall I say? You may find the scope of movies on offer on Saudia to be a bit narrow, but beyond that, it's a healthy selection of movies and TV shows. Along with some cheap but very stylish earbuds. Almost looks like a modern-day Dazzle camouflage. Very soon after takeoff, the crew came around with water. No carts, just holding the big bottles. I was a bit worried that this meant that there was no meal to be offered, but I had nothing to worry about. It would seem on these shorter routes during Ramadan, Saudia doesn't use carts, and rather goes through the cabin and asks who would like to eat. I'd say in total around a third of the passengers I saw chose to eat. If you told me what the meal was without looking at it or tasting it, in this case vegetable biryani, hummus, pita, and chocolate mousse, my first thought would be, oh wow, there's an inspiring carb fest of a meal. That level of snark wasn't really necessary though, since this was truly a delicious meal. Saudia really does do wonderful things with rice dishes in all forms. I'd be happy to eat this every day, as long as I could still have pizza on Sundays. And shout out to the bathrooms on board being possibly some of the cleanest that I've seen in a long time. I'm talking like Japan Airlines level of polish and cleanliness. And they have the world's best bathroom feature ever. And with that, we were approaching the Sinai Peninsula and beginning our descent. Now, take a look at our final flight path here. That loop over Cairo. This resulted in a literal 15-minute bird's eye view of the pyramids, as they're smack in the center of that big turn. So for the remainder, I'll just leave you to enjoy the views of the peninsula, the pyramids, and landing. You'll see the first few pyramids after we cross the Nile, right after the green landscape ends. So, I get it. Saudia is not everyone's cup of tea. That's fine. But they're not the Saudia of 10-15 years ago, giving off strong budget carrier vibes. Not too dissimilar from Egyptair now. Across the board, they are a much improved airline with some of the best food and friendliest service out there, from my flights at least. So I really do hope that you enjoyed this trip report today. If you did, please be sure to click that like button and subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss out on my twice weekly videos. I'll see you next time from Phuket. Oh, and as always, thanks for watching until the end.